All right, let me double check that I got the right microphone on the AT. Yeah. And then we'll go there. All right. So yeah, microphone is good. Everything is on. I don't know if you guys on TikTok, can you hear me okay? You guys are happy? Give me some thumbs up there. Hi. Too cold 01 said hi. All right. And so I worked, in retail, wholesale, manufacturing, service businesses. When I had a paging business back in the 80s, we had a pager business. You thought pricing was brutal. Try trying to sell a 1999 pager with a $7.99 a month revenue model. And we would deliver the pagers to people. We were revolutionary. We said, you call us, and we would send a guy out to deliver the pager, get him to sign the contract. We're at their office to get the deal. I mean, this is why a lot of things that I do, people are like, are you nuts? But I understood what it took to get that client, and convenience is always going to trump everything else. And I'm going to show you what we did. Let me show you. I'm going to share my screen. You guys in TikTok land, you should be following me. Right now, you can follow me at Franklin Hernandez, Pest Geek Podcast, Pest Geek. If you look up Pest Geek, you should be able to find me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I got the Service Geek Podcast coming up soon. The channel is being built now on YouTube. All of the social media channels are going to be built for the Service Geek Podcast. And then you should be able to see me there. But right now, you can follow me here. You can join me on Facebook, become friends with me, join my group, join my page. I'm pretty much everywhere. And let me do this. This is, what is this? What am I? Okay, I'm trying to get number 2. Got it. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. And actually, it should be not there. Let me actually stop and share my screen, because what I want to do is I want to show you, where is that spreadsheet? Here we go. All right. So on this spreadsheet, I'm going to open this wide for those of you who are online. I tried to blow it up as much as I could. I got this piece of software. I've got so many pieces of software open up on my screen for SEO that we do that I forget to shut them all down. But let's go here. And I'm going to move this up here. All right. So we went out and we priced. We called 60 companies. All right. Open the questions. No, open for questions. No, just go ahead and nope, I'm not going to do that. Let's get that out of the way. All right. And there's a huge delay for those of you hearing me on TikTok and those of you hearing me on Facebook and YouTube. There's about a minute delay on the software transmitting. But this was what I did last year, where I price out the market every year, figure out where prices are at. And we can kind of tell when the closing ratios start to slip a little bit. There's a shift in the market. We immediately know it. Close ratios are important. They're important to track close ratios. You just got to know what the close ratio tracking means. Okay. And so what I did was I blocked out the name and phone numbers of the companies, because I want to put them out on blast. It's not cool. But we priced out 60 companies. Originally, on the first try, we only got 5 prices. 5 people answered the phone. The other 5 called us back immediately, and we got the pricing. The other 10 that we got required that we made at least 3 attempts. 50% of people never even bothered to call us back to give us a price. After 3 attempts, we attempted them all 3 times. You can see we ended here at 34 out of 60. What I did is I took a 13-mile radius, and this is how much competition I have. We went to 60 companies, maybe 59 really, because you got the header in there. So 59 companies, and I went ahead and I priced them all, and I got their pricing. All right, so here's what you find. In every market, people are saying, what do you do with all these low ballers? What do you do with all these low ballers? The reality is there's not that many low ballers in a market. The problem is you become fixated on that because it bothers you that these people are lowballing and you lose the business to a low baller. Well, you should be happy that you lost the business to a low baller because you just realized the lowballer isn't your client. See, it isn't the lowballer's fault. It's the customer that goes for the lowballer, that's whose fault it is. And sooner or later, that customer regrets their decision and then calls you back and says, yeah, I had it all the time. Can you give us a price break because we went with this other company and they didn't do the job right? And I says, no, because I told you when you were on the phone that what my price was our service was, and why we charge what we charge. And you told me my price was too high. I can't give you a break because you made a bad decision. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to provide the best service that I can for all of my clients. So what we did was, you can see there's one guy here who's a lowballer. Out of 60 people, 35 that we got back, only 2 are real lowballers. The rest are within up or down. I mean, this is not a lowballer right here. 125, if the average market is 150, he's just decided to underprice. And he decides, understand that it comes down to your ability to sell. If a solo operator gets 10 calls and he only closes half, 50%, he might feel like he's demoralized because he's losing all this sales to all these lowballers. Therefore, he will lower his price because he cannot accept the rejection. Okay? He cannot accept only closing 50%. I close 80%. If you tell me that you close 80% of every job that comes through on a cold lead from marketing that wasn't a referral, I'm telling you, your price is lower than the market. There's no way you can do that in any market, on any business. If the average price in the market, which you can see right here, is about the average price, around $150 and $49 monthly. A lot of people in South Florida, people are shocked when I talk about you can't do quarterly in South Florida because of the amount of rain we get. We get about 80 inches of rain a year compared to California that gets somewhere between 14 and 20 inches of rain a year. Nobody does quarterly in South Florida except the really large companies with a large model. Your callback rates would be somewhere in the 20% if you did quarterly in South Florida. So we do 80% bi-monthly because our protocols only give us about a 3% callback rate. When we do monthly, we're less than 1%. It's virtually non-existent on monthly clients. The reason we do monthly is when we evaluate the property, we know that this is going to be a constant problem because there's a crawl space with no vents. Roaches are constantly getting in. Rodents are going to get in. We have a house with a pool with ghost ant, and that's a nightmare because they have access to water. You can't spray hard surfaces with pools. Hard surfaces here in Florida, the pH of concrete is somewhere between 11 and 13. Eats the product like that, within a week, it's gone. And therefore, we always get callbacks because ghost ants, for those of you who don't know what a ghost ant is, a ghost ant is a little tiny ant that you can barely see that looks like, ants walking around, and like little spiders with no legs walking around. It's Tapaloma. For those of you who are in the pest control industry, it's a Tapanoma species melicephalum, which is the cousin of the odorous house ant, the Tapanoma sisal, which is a tramp ant. So that's a little bit of pest control training for you guys, but we're discussing prices, and you can see on my chart, this is what everybody quoted. When we look at outliers, which is what we call in finance or in analysis, you're looking at outliers. Those are what you call lowballers. All right, this guy, I don't know how he can do a one-time service for $60 when he's running ads. He must be having one hell of an upsell program. And actually, I know who he is and I know what he's doing. And there's a couple of things going on there that I won't discuss. But how do you do it? Well, you honestly better have, if you're using it as a loss leader to sell termite, that's a whole different game. And that's a strategy. And you got to know you can't be upset about what your competition is doing because they understood how to win at something. And go ahead and get angry because they can do, like right now, I'm getting every major brand, $99 initial, $79 initial, $39 initial, because they're going in and they have one hell of an upsell program. Well, they'll sell you then, it basically GPC, what you depend on as a solo operator to make your living, general pest, they consider that a loss leader. So now they've taken something that you find a ton of value in, because that's how your bread and butter is, because you don't do termite and you don't do lawn, you're dependent, you don't do wildlife. You decided to go with a model that's very narrow because you don't want the headaches of termite, you don't want the risk, you don't want all the other issues, you don't want $190,000 lawn truck. You decided, I'm going to go with the simplest thing, and the simplest thing is the one that everybody's commoditized. And now you got to live with that. That's part of being in business. You cannot be upset about your competition commoditizing something, giving it no value, and then you're saying, well, how do I make a living? And you're spraying inside and out every month with bifenthrin, and you say, well, I need to get paid more. For what? You're not doing anything special. Okay? You got to be able to offer something, a USP. Why are you better? Well, because you're getting me. Nobody knows you. Well, because, I have 25 years of experience. Big deal. A good 3-year tech already knows as much as you're going to know in the last 25 years when it comes to handling ants and roaches. Now, we're talking about termites and structural issues and construction. That's a whole different animal. So when we look at this, is just GPC. We didn't price out termite. We didn't price out lawn, just GPC, general pest, ants, roaches. And as you can see, there is the other outlier on the other end of the market who's the most expensive guy. And wouldn't give us a price. Is, well, our initial is this, and then we got to see how much it's going to be. I guess they go out and they look at every single job, because he's a one-man show and he wants to get every single job, so he won't price it out. A lot of people refuse to price out, and we have another sheet where we did German roaches. We have another one that we did on that. But when we look at the pricing and we come down here, and hopefully you're able to see this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow this up, because I know you guys here I'm watching it on your little phone in your car are struggling. All right, so when somebody tells me, well, I'm not the most expensive guy and I'm not the cheapest guy, I'm like right in the middle. Yeah, that's called an actual average price. You're doing nothing special in the market. It's called an average price. The average price initial in the market is $149.26. The average monthly is $73.68. Okay, and if we remove the outliers, which you can go in here and remove the outliers and go purely remove those two low ballers, and then you'll get a better average. But this is the average we got on our analysis. So let me show you what this looks like. Control minus, whoops. Let me here, control minus. No, I want to reduce this. All right, so we're going to do this. I'm going to show you this. All right, so we're going to take the two outliers, which is this is going to be D4. All right, so we're going to take D4, remove those two guys, and remove the last three, the last one, D32. So if you go to D4, all right, we'll take D4. And I said, what was the other guy? We're going to go from D4 all the way to D35. All right, so D35, and we'll go to D35. All right, so now we jump up to 151 on an average price. You see that? So if we do the same thing over here, basically it's E4 to 35. All right, now it goes to $74. All right, so what's been our pricing? I'll show you that. So if you say, look, Frank, I'm running a campaign. I'm doing an advertising campaign. Let me. Jesus Christ, what happened? Cheesy beats. Minus, control minus. Great. Right, let's go back over here. See if it fixes. I hate it when that happens. You go here. Dang it. That totally hosed up my thing. All right. So what I'm going to do is let me close that. Let me open it up over here. I'm going to stop my screen share, guys, for a minute. Go back into my Excel file. And it's actually, I'll go over here. Oh, okay. Here we go. Let's close that too. Apologize. It always happens, technical difficulties when you're trying to make things happen. Let's go with my GPC, see if that fixes. And it's actually probably my screen. There we go. All right, got it. All right, we're back. So let me share my screen again. We're back. Frank's back. All right. Hopefully that's it. Yeah. All right. So now I'm going to show you the pricing, and I'm going to do it here because, yeah, it's just much easier to do it here than to do it on my screen. I'm going to cancel this. All right. All right. So now your average price in the market is 150 average median. So we look at the middle price. The median price is the one directly in the middle. When you take all these numbers, let's say you've got 1,000 numbers, that's your median price. So you can see that the median price is not too far off from the average. So because the average accounts for the outliers. Okay, so when you're looking at your pricing, what's the outliers? It accounts for that. 151.74 net. So let's say you got a pricing model that says, I want to go to 85% of market. All right. So if I wanted to beat everybody out and I wanted to make sure nobody calls anybody else and I close 100% of the business, and this is 95% here. Actually, this is my bad. I accidentally got this. Right. And I can tell you it's strategies. You can disagree. You can say, I don't like that. To me, it doesn't matter. It's about strategy, about how you're going to go to market. If you decide to go with a $49 initial and $49 a month, yeah, you end up with a 50% cancellation rate because you ended up with all the price shoppers in the market. But if your strategy is, I don't care because all I care about is the 50% that stay, that's a strategy. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it doesn't matter. Strategy is strategy. So if I wanted to right now capture the market, right, at 149 initial and stay with $79 monthly or $79 bi-monthly, I would most likely get most of the clients and I would make more money in the long run. Why? Because what people look at is the initial price. The initial price is the barrier to entry. This is why the initial price has no value. To large companies, they understand it. I'm selling this right now in my market, only here within 2.5 mile radius, 5 mile radius, in one market where I'm at, because it will create an enormous amount of route density. I reduce it from 150 to 149. It's just $1, but I increase it to $79 every 2 months, right? That's more than everybody else. In the long run, I make more money. In the long run, I'm not going to get too many tire kickers because they're comparing it to the market. But in other markets, you call me, like I just closed an initial on a house, 5-bedroom, 6-bath house. It was $599 and $129 a month. Why? Because in that market, in that house, It's a $5 million house, new construction. It's in a wealthy area and people can afford it. And she wanted to make sure that we were eco-friendly and that what she wanted. Therefore, there's a difference between the customer that's in this market and the customer that is in that market. Why would you have two different prices? Because I can. And every company out there has different prices. Go on Amazon and have your friend in Amazon in California, go look up at a price on Amazon for the same product. And you go be in Idaho and you're going to pay less than he is in California for the same product on Amazon. Retailers do it all the time. It's what the market is willing to bear. The reality is your pricing is always going to be determined by what the market is willing to bear. Not what you wish you could sell it for, not what you wish your competition would stop lowballing. I mean, we've been having this discussion. I got articles on conferences going back 12, 13 years where the large company brands were saying, we need to stop making this a race to the bottom, yet 13 years later, it's still a race to the bottom for them. So you're talking out of two sides of their mouth. The reality is that when you sell a product or service, it's going to be whatever the market will bear. And the fact, if you're a solo operator renting an apartment in the middle of a city where everybody else is renting an apartment because that's all you can afford, everybody around you is in the same financial situation and that's all they can afford. So you've heard the expression, follow the money. You go, then you sell it in your area to the people that can do it because route density has a value. And when you can leave your house and within 5 minutes go make $150 versus $250 and you got to drive 45 miles, you really didn't make any more money because you have that windshield time. If you're the average company at $150 an hour, which everybody's about the same price. Everybody's labor cost is the same. Everybody's fuel cost is the same. Everybody's truck cost is the same. Everybody's chemical cost is the same in your market. Everything is the same. Labor is the same. It doesn't change. It's pretty much a constant with variables. Fuel goes up, but everybody pays a higher price for fuel. Nobody gets a special deal. Everybody pays the same for insurance because it's based on a percentage of what you make on an income. So you got to understand your numbers. And what you do is you take the average in the market and you say, where do I want to be in the market? And the market was 13 miles from me. And you can see 13 miles, there wasn't a big difference in variable in prices. Now, what is my regular price on a clean out? These guys are all on $150 averages. Why did we go to a $359 initial? Because we know that 80% of every ant job and every road job can be solved in 2 visits. With an exception of 10% of those, actually about 15% of those are going to require a third service. And the extra 5%, which is your most heavy infestations, take 4. It's really around that 1 to 5% margin. So what we did was we went, when COVID hit, we saw all the calls slip, all the numbers slip. People weren't buying. We quoted prices and people, when we were quoting this at $459 the year before, okay, $459 for that same service the year before COVID, the year after COVID, we were down to $159. Here was the problem. We competed with everybody in the market. We got our numbers to close back up. We did twice the work for the same amount of revenue. Twice the work, same amount of revenue. To me, it wasn't worth it when I analyzed those numbers. I would rather be happy, which we did for a long time, with an 80% cancel, a 20% close rate, which people get demoralized by that because they're not salespeople. And my technician was, hey, we're not getting as many leads. Yes, but we're selling them as twice as much. And you're making twice as much on your commission. And we're still busy. So when we analyzed it, what we found, we also had, when we sold it at this price, a roach cleanout job at $159 versus $359 for 2 services. What we found is we were chasing 80% of these people 30 days later to do their follow-up. The administrative cost now to make a $159 sale, the administrative cost went like this, to where with this $359, you're calling us saying, hey, my service is due. I paid for it. When do I get it? With this one, it was, hey, let's just, wait and see, because a lot of people say you can do it with a one time, and we knew it couldn't be done one time. So now we're chasing these people, calling them and calling them and calling them, 3 calls, where before we had to make no calls. We're now making 3 calls. The administrative cost was astronomical. Then 20% would get it done immediately, between 20 and 50%. And then the other 50% wouldn't respond to our calls, only to call us back 60 days later and tell us that they still have roaches. And I said, but we told you couldn't solve it. The technician saw the level of infestation. He noted it in the report. He told you, yeah, but we thought, because things are tight. Now I got to tell them, I'm sorry, but now I got to charge you again for that initial. I'm not going to honor that $99 follow-up, because that $99 follow-up was written in our contract for 30 days. And now they're upset. So now we have an upset customer saying we couldn't solve the roach problem. We made an enormous amount of calls. What we figured out is that there is a certain price you can't go below, or you start getting a bad client. That's what we figured out. So we went back to our $359 initial. People are like, well, can I pay you half and then the other half? No, because we did that during COVID and it bit us in the butt. The same, we were calling you and then you didn't do it. So now we say it's $359 for a triage service, which includes an initial service, which is our intensive initial, and the follow-up is included in 30 days. And the follow-up is free. And then now we get that money up front. We have a commitment from a committed customer. And then we tell them, if the tech goes there and it's a severe infestation, because you told me it just started 3 months ago, but the tech finds that it's severe, he shows it to you, and then we got to come back in 14 days, you're going to pay that $159 on the 3rd service. So on average, we make $359 for a roach clean out with 2 services within our areas. And we only do it, guys. This pricing is only when we're in that area. If you say you want it today, out of route, out of territory, I'm tacking on another $259 for an emergency service. Why? Because you're wanting exclusive service that nobody else offers. It's an eco-friendly service. There's only 2 companies out of 500. For 5 million people, there's only 2 companies doing it. You want it. You went out of your way to find me. You got to understand it's going to cost more. Now, in this area, this is our price. My normal price, I'll charge you $359 for that initial. Get it solved. And then if you wanted a roach service for an apartment on a quarterly basis, it's going to be $129 on a quarterly basis. Or actually, we just raised it right now to $159. On a bi-monthly basis, it's $109. And we don't do monthly. It's going to be our minimum of $109. Why? Because on roach apartment cleanouts, it's more work than a house. Why? Because on a house, we show up to do our maintenance, which we charge now $359 for the cleanout, for the control problem. We don't charge an initial. It includes a follow-up in a week for ants, a follow-up in 30 days for roaches. Then we're at $99 exterior only service. After we get this cleaned up for you, it's exterior only. There's no appointment. We do it on the days we're in that territory, so there's no excess travel time. We have an enormous amount of efficiency. It's auto-scheduled. We don't call you to ask you if you want it. It's already agreed upon that you want it. We do not come inside unless you tell us you have a problem inside, which is 3% of the time. And we come and then we only do a follow-up service if we find something inside, and then we got to come up and follow up with that. So at the end of the day, on our first year, we're going to be about $800 on a first year. But it works for us. Now, I'm not telling you to do this. I don't know what you do in your market. I'm just telling you, if you want to go with this model, all right, and be the same as everybody, that's fine. You're going to get, a 50% because people are going to call. You better have some USP on your website and explain your unique selling proposition of why they need to go with you. And I said, look, I tell people, look, I know every price in the city. I can tell you who's going to charge you what. I got their pricing. So-and-so you're going to call is going to charge you this. So-and-so is going to call you that. But you called us for an eco-friendly service. I'm willing to match it in this city at 159 and then 79 or 149 and 79. It's only on Fridays that we do the service in this area. I have a tech in this area on Fridays. And then once we grow the territory and once we grow, then we change it. But it's basically based around what we can get to, not what they want. This is the same strategy, by the way, that is used in door-to-door. Just go with a 149 price for everybody, bi-monthly, only where we're in this area. We're in this area now. That's the reason I'm here. My tech is here doing that house every Thursday. We bundle it together. We save money. We save you money. It makes sense. And that's it. So I don't know if anybody's got any questions on this that you want to ask me about pricing. I'm going to switch over. Where the heck is my dashboard? If you guys on TikTok got any questions on pricing for services, like I don't know. Look, this is the strategy that I use for pest control. This is the same strategy you need to find out. You need to know what your hourly rate is. And the ones that I feel most for that I'm going to talk to you about is, let's say, house cleaners. Because usually house cleaners is a woman that most likely is a single mom. 50% of the time is a single mom. She could not advance at her work. She was getting underpaid. She decided to go out and do house cleaning. And I see it in the house cleaning groups all the time. I'm in about 100 groups. And she's saying, why do people keep turning me down on my price when my price is fair? I said, because you're quoting prices you're not selling. You're not selling value. You're not selling your value. You're not selling the value of what you do. You need to have something like, hey, we use 100% all organic cleaners in our practice. I have clients that I do Airbnbs for, that they hire companies that all they use is organic cleaners. And they pay more for it. They pay me more for it because of that. See, birds of a feather flock together. So if you're out there and then you're like, but I'm charging because what you're selling is your labor, you're not selling the benefit of what you buy. My cleaning lady charges me $150 to come clean this townhouse. She's here for 6 hours, average. And I have her now do my laundry too because we don't have time. And I give her an extra $50 to do the laundry. She's here for an extra hour. She made $50 an hour extra. So that's what I offered her. I didn't care if she was going to charge me $25. But I pay people fairly so that they give me the best work. So they do the best for me. I don't negotiate their prices. I know what it's worth in the market, and that's what I give them. So when you're underpricing yourself, understand that you're going to have a ton of work, no profit, no money. You won't be able to take vacations. You will be no better off than working for somebody else because you have all the responsibility. You need to go figure out what the average price in the market is, decide to be over or above it or at it. Whatever your strategy is of no consequence to me, but figure out why you're going to be better. If you're doing termite jobs and you're patching up concrete holes, could you charge an extra 10% to color match it? Because that's important to your client. In other words, if you're listening to your client, what they value. Some people like polite pest control. Follow them. They figured out that people wanted someone that were polite. That's the term that is used in that area. Kind. Maybe you hire people that are kind, and you only hire people that are kind. What is your USP that describes your company? Why? I was just talking to a guy in California, asking me about pest routes. They were having trouble. I said, look, stay with them because every software company is going to have trouble. There's nothing. I mean, I use them and yeah, we have problems. But at the end of the day, it's going to be $20,000, $30,000 for do a migration. It's not worth it for me to handle a couple of problems. And we started talking about pricing and what he pays his people. And it pays his office people $30 an hour. That's the reality. If not, you're not going to get good people. You want to pay $20 an hour in a $30 an hour market, you're not going to find anybody. You're going to wonder why you can't find people. The average person doing pest control in Miami is making $36,000 a year. My second year tech made $50,000. This year he's on route to make 70. If I want to keep good people, I got to pay them well. I got to charge more so I can pay people more. And you got to charge more because the average solo person only makes about 6% on average take-home pay more than he used to when he was working for somebody else. Right, because he had an entire infrastructure. He only had to do his job. He thought, oh, I get 100% of the pie. Yeah, you also have 100% of the headaches, 100% of the problem, 100% of not being able to sell and market. So that's been my, kind of where I price, how I price the market. It's a strategy. You have to do it. You find it distasteful calling your competitors to figure out what they're charging because, you feel it's wrong. Every company does it. Every restaurant does it, picks up menus from other restaurants, and to price their food out. I mean, I used to know what my cost of food was, and then I figured out I needed 3x on the cost of food, plating it out in order to make a profit. When I took over a restaurant, they were losing money every month. Then I went ahead and I took it over, and immediately they were profitable 30 days later. Their food was severely underpriced. They had way too many people working there. And yes, we had to get rid of one person. But mostly we had to raise our prices by 30%. So I don't know if anybody's got any questions. This is my talk for today on this. And let me see here. I'm going to switch over. I'm going to stop sharing. I got Will White. Is this Will White? Yes, it is. This is Will from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hey, Will, shout out to you, brother. I got a cigar that you gave me, and I'm going to smoke it this weekend. Thank you so much for that cigar, brother. Big shout out to you for taking it to me. The nice big ring gauge too, man. You're a big guy. You smoke big ring gauges, which I like. I like big ring gauges. So let me see who else is online with us here. Tammy Turner, or Timmy. Is it Timmy? I'm sorry. Whoop, I lost. I got, let's see here. Timmy Turner. Let me see, Timmy, who you are. Where are you at? All right, Timmy. Let's see here. Give a shout out to you. You're in New Jersey. All right. You're right up there with Lower Montville, New Jersey, with my buddy Jose Solano of Bug Boys out there. He's in Elizabeth in Toms River, New Jersey. I lived in Jersey. I used to live in Jersey when I was a kid. I lived in Union City and West New York until I was 6. And then my mother moved me to Florida because she had enough of the winters. So I hope this helps you guys. I hope it gives you, we're going to be talking a lot about numbers because a lot of people don't understand the numbers. We're going to be talking about the marketing numbers next week. I also did, let me see, I did a little, I got to be able to be careful because I got a lot of personal, really sensitive information in here that I can't show. And I got to be real careful what I stay on a page and don't move. But I did a calculator to show you when you had multiple routes and understanding profit margins and costs on those routes. But I'm gonna start discussing that a little bit more on numbers because numbers is what escapes everybody, and you got to manage by numbers. One of the reasons that I was gonna do this podcast on an afternoon at 3, which I originally set it for 3. Now I got to do it at 4 because my son was in aftercare after school because he was doing tutoring. Tutoring ended and I didn't know about it. So now I have to pick him up at 3 every day. So that shoots that schedule out of the water. So now I got to do it at 4. But between 3 and 6 is the second best time to do lives on YouTube and TikTok. Okay. The best time is between 6 and 9 p.m. But now I'm with my family and I'm resting and I'm doing other things. And I'm not going to do a podcast at 6 o'clock in the afternoon when everybody's home. So it's going to be the next best available. If you want to do lives, this is where you get most of the people on in the afternoon at 3 o'clock. The third best time actually is noon to 3. So basically the best time is 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., and then 12 noon to 3 is the least advantageous time to try to do lives where you get the least amount of people. Let me go back over here, and I'm just looking through all the channels, making sure that, let me go on the, let me look on my channel, making sure that we're still live and kicking here on YouTube. Yes, we are. There's a little delay on there, but it's about a minute and a half. I'm on Zoom here now looking at all my threads. No questions. So guys, I'm going to call it a day. If you have no questions, feel free to always reach out to me. Post the questions on the video. It's the easiest way for me to see them because I'm looking at these videos on here on TikTok. Go ahead and post your comments and help you any way I can through these podcasts. By the way, we got the Pest Geek Academy. For those of you who are in the pest control industry, we've got an SEO course. If you're wanting to do your own SEO, right? That'll be my plug for the day. If you want to do your own SEO or you want to hire an agency to do SEO without getting ripped off, I have a course. The course is $399. I think I got about 16 hours or lessons on there, 7 of which I did live with an audience. So if that's something that you're looking into doing your own SEO, especially your GMB, Google My Business profile, local SEO, hyper local SEO. You want to know what it takes. I also, for those, I continue to give support to those that took my course, and I have a private secret SEO mastermind on a weekly basis. I post what we're doing and the results we get to show people the truth. It isn't easy. It isn't quick. I'm not going to blow sunshine up your tailpipe and you're going to crap out a purple unicorn. It's about what it takes. This is darn hard. Running a business is darn hard. It's also very rewarding, and it's about for 11% of the population that actually pull it off. 20% of people attempt it and the population and fail. And the reason they fail is they fail to understand their business. They fail to understand numbers. They fail to understand the market. They understand as a technician what they do. That's not ever in question. If you're an AC technician, you're usually a good one and you think you can do better by yourself. The problem is you don't know sales and marketing. And that's where everybody has the shock 6, 9, 12 months into this, where they're not making as much money as most of them are bleeding and losing their business. And this is what we're trying to avoid here. So that's what the Service Geek podcast is all about. What I've been doing for the last 10 years for the pest control industry, I now can do for a lot of other industries on the business side, not on the technical side, because I'm not an air conditioning expert. I'm not a plumbing. I'm not an electrician, but I understand numbers. I understand business. It doesn't change no matter what business you're in. It just varies, but it really doesn't change. And there's a difference in there. So hope you guys are doing well. Until next time, guys, have a pestacular day.